You're probably not expecting this video on my YouTube channel, as I primarily focus on film photography. But there's so much discussion going on with regards to using older CCD sensor-based digital cameras from the past to try to achieve a film look that I thought, let me dive into my archives to see if I can find any images that I made in the past with this older CCD sensor technology. And I found two cameras. And one of them I still own, and it is the first digital camera I ever bought new, and probably the only one I bought new. And it is the Olympus C-4000, a camera which I bought, I think it's more than 20 years ago already, and is still in full working condition. The other camera is a Nikon D100, regretfully, which I have sold. So for the images that I'm going to be showing you in this video, I want to focus primarily on this little prosumer digital compact camera, the Olympus C-4000. And the images I'm going to be showing you are of portrait, model, and a touch of glamour photography. So be aware when I show you the images, now you know what to expect. I hope you enjoy them. But that was primarily what I was photographing 20 years ago. I always had people in front of my lens. So I bought this camera brand new, like I mentioned, a little bit more than 20 years ago. And you're probably asking yourself, why did you buy a prosumer digital compact camera for your portrait, model, and glamour photography? Well, I think it's a relevant question. The thing I would like to say is that 20 years ago, digital cameras were just up and coming, and they were really expensive. Even this little C-4000 was quite expensive. But I chose it for two reasons specifically. First of all, the quality of the lens. It has a very sharp lens. And second of all, this camera has the ability to shoot in aperture and shutter priority mode, and you can use the camera in a full manual mode. So it had everything I was looking for, even though it was a prosumer digital compact camera with only 4 megapixels. But be aware, even though it has many capabilities, it is an extremely slow camera to use. It's slower than using a film camera with a roll of film. So something you need to get used to, but that does give you the possibility to focus primarily on your subject, the light, and composition. So it's a little bit like photographing with a film camera. And no one who ever was in front of this lens complained about the fact that this is a prosumer or consumer level digital compact camera. I did have quite a few people though back in the day questioning my choice of camera, but I thought, I don't care. Back then I was already a photography minimalist, as I still am today. And I'm just in it to get the best possible image out of the budget that you can spend on the camera. And that's what I did with this Olympus C-4000. Like I mentioned, fully manual, aperture and shutter priority possibilities, a very high quality lens, and besides that, a very slow camera. The nice thing is though that even 20 years ago, this camera already had the possibility to make an in-camera black and white image or a sepia toned image, which I'll show you also in the results in this video. So this is what I wanted to do in this part 1 on from past to present with regards to using a CCD based camera. Just to talk a little bit about the fact that I also used a CCD based digital camera back in the day, and I photographed with it professionally. I hope you enjoy the results that I was able to achieve. I wasn't disappointed. Let me show you the results first, then I'll come back to you and we'll analyze the image a little bit to give you a better feel if this is really a film look that you're looking for, and I'll give you a better idea of the quality of the image that this camera can produce. So let's have a look at the images first. Well, first of all, I hope you enjoyed the images that I was able to achieve with this little Olympus C-4000. They might not be to everybody's taste, but 20 years ago I was very active in portrait, model and glamour photography. And this was my first digital camera, and which was specifically bought for this purpose. All of the images you have seen were taken in an aperture priority mode, and I guess almost all of them, let's say about 95%, were taken with natural light and a reflector. So already 20 years ago I was working as a true photography minimalist. As I mentioned, this camera is extremely slow. It's even slower than taking photos with an analog film camera. And that gives you the opportunity to focus on your model, composition and light. So I had all the time in the world using this camera to achieve the best possible end result. I chose two photos. On the left, a photo of Marlou taken with natural light and a reflector at 400 ISO. And on the right, a photo taken of Valentine with a studio strobe and softbox and an ISO of 100. The photo of Marlou is made with the in-camera sepia option. And as we can see, the Olympia is capable of producing nice images straight out of camera. But it is important to note that these old small CCD sensor cameras need sufficient light and a spot-on exposure to get great out-of-camera results. As we can see on the EXIF data, I did not shy away from long exposures, 1/20th of a second at an aperture of 2.8. Again ISO 400, and this photo was taken on a tripod. When we zoom in even closer to 100%, we can see a very fine image and a very smooth transition from light to dark. And what we also see, and that this is what we call digital noise, that this digital noise almost looks like a very fine grain. It has a film effect. Interesting to see. When we look at the EXIF data of the photo I made of Valentine, we can see again a longer exposure of 1/20th of a second at f2.8. As I mentioned, shooting at 100 ISO, this was a photo taken with a studio strobe and a softbox. So I had more than efficient light to get an excellent photo from this camera. When we have a look at the 100% magnification of the photo which I made of Valentine, we can see very fine detail. The exposure is spot on and we have a lot of sharpness. There's almost no noise visible, and this gives, I think personally, the film effect, especially again the transition, which is very smooth from light to dark. What I like about the image is the fact that it does render somewhat of a film look, and especially the transition from light to shadows is extremely smooth. And even in low light situations, and I was shooting of course at the lowest possible ISO levels, you can get some very good results with this old CCD based 4 megapixel compact camera. I'm going to be taking this camera out into the place that I live, into Kampen, and taking a numerous amount of photographs with this camera, and I'll show you those images in part 2 and we'll discuss those in more depth. But is there some truth to the fact that using old CCD sensor based cameras give you somewhat of a film look? Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. So it could be interesting for you to discover this. On the other hand, and that's why I am the photography minimalist, primarily focusing on film photography, I would suggest just go out and buy yourself a film camera and a roll of film. Then you will really achieve that film look that everybody's talking about. But anyway, that's a different story. Part 2, I'm going to make some new photos with this old digital camera and we'll discuss the results. Thanks for watching, greatly appreciate it. See you in the next video.